Okay, this is part two of a two-part presentation introducing liberation psychology. Um, First of all, understanding oppression and how it works. This is really important for liberation psychology. So, first of all, oppression operates through hierarchies. You find this, you'll understand this more by reading chapter 2 in Moan 2011. It operates at all levels of the human ecosystem, from the personal level, the local community level, and also at the macro level of society. That is the level of tradition and culture, where you have government policy and legislation and decisions made in relation to international treaties. Second, oppression operates through mechanisms of control. These are violence, political control, economic control, control of knowledge and control of information, control of sexuality, and fragmentation. Fragmentation is like horizontal hostility or divide and conquer, when people are divided among themselves. Uh, this is it. So this is the same thing as the modes of control that are on page 180 of Moan 2011. And third, understanding oppression relates to living in oppressive social conditions. What you find is that people develop strengths, and these are the strengths of human beings everywhere. These are the strengths that allow people to survive and also to break out of oppression. So these strengths are creativity, spirituality, and community. But people living in oppressive social conditions also develop weaknesses. I have these in small print because we don't want to overly focus on them. They're alcohol and drug abuse, distorted thought patterns, and disregard for the environment. And this is the area where most of the government services and most of the interventions focus. They focus on these weaknesses that develop, and they don't address the core problems. And the core problems are related to the oppressive social conditions. So this is really what liberation psychology does. It tries to shift the emphasis away from the effects of oppressive social conditions and back towards the strengths of people and towards changing these social conditions and transforming the context of oppression. The next point in liberation psychology, after we come to understand oppression, is the challenge of breaking out. And the first part of breaking out is conscientization, building up our awareness, building up our understanding, and sharing that understanding and awareness, spreading the information, spreading the knowledge about how oppression works and how oppressive social conditions lead to those debilitating psychological outcomes and create a vicious circle that is just reproduces itself over and over again. The second point in breaking out is not using the master's tools. The idea of master's tools comes from Audre Lorde. She's quite famous for a comment that you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. So basically the master's tools are, we recognize them as the modes of control or the mechanisms of control or mechanisms of oppression. And these were, as mentioned before, violence, political and economic control, control of knowledge and information, education, etc., and control of sexuality, and finally the fragmentation, the creation of this very fragmented society, which is the social conditions of oppression. What's an important point in breaking out is developing new tools for action. Is a key factor in liberation psychology, is developing those new tools for action and never using these master's tools. They are not our tools for transforming society, violence and political control and so on. These are not the tools of liberation psychology, they are the tools of oppression. So liberation psychology must develop new tools for action. Secondly, in relation to breaking out, we ask the question, how do we create these tools for action? Well, we use our strengths. We have to be creative. We have to be both ethical and spiritual. I use the word ethical here because, in relation to spiritual, in the sense that I'm not talking about formal religion. I'm not talking about whether people have faith or don't have faith, or have religion or don't have religion, but rather that they are about the ethical um, behaviours and ethical way of existing for human beings. So this seems to be important for spiritual people and ethical people, and these two things somehow overlap. And thirdly, then, through solidarity and support, we have to do this together by talking, having dialogue, and really communicating and trying to understand each other, and also to deal with the emotions and to understand all of that emotional baggage that we bring with us into our social context, into our struggles for liberation and for freedom, and to overcoming this together and creating the future through solidarity and support. The goals of liberation psychology, in summary, are to transform oppressive social conditions through change at all levels of society, through personal change. That can be a starting point for all of us. Communal change can be a progression that we can make, but ultimately through structural changes, through changing the macro level of society, both in terms of legislation and policy in the government, by changing the blueprints of society, by creating a totally different type of a society. So these are the goals of liberation psychology.